everybody! My name is Lisa. Welcome to Audubon at Home. Today we are exploring this wonderful park called Neutaconkanut Park, and it is in Providence. It is the largest of the Providence parks. It's 88 acres, which means about 88 football fields. So it's a really big place, and in fact it has the highest natural point in Providence. This is a great place for you to come explore as well. There are lots of hiking trails, there's beautiful woods and fields, and at the bottom of the hill over here, there's a recreation area with some skateboarding parks and some baseball fields. So it's a wonderful place, and we invite you to come take a nice walk here. Today, we're going to focus on what you might see when you're taking a winter nature walk. Now, to get ready for a winter nature walk, there's just a couple of hints I've got for you. To make sure that you are well prepared so you can enjoy your walk all the time is make sure that you're dressed well. So today, I made sure I had something on my hands, so gloves or mittens. I'm wearing a hat, although today is a little mild. I may not end up needing my hat. I do have a scarf, and the nice thing about these masks is they protect our noses and keep them from getting cold. So make sure you get all your layers. I've got a coat and a couple layers underneath. I even wore a layer underneath my pants just to be nice and warm. I have a couple pairs of socks on, and I've got boots on because there's snow on the ground. So just to make sure you're well prepared so you can have the best time possible when you go out and take your winter nature walk. The other thing is I did bring a backpack, and I've got some water, and I have a little bit of first aid just in case I need a Band-Aid or something like that. How about we get started? So when we're walking along in nature in the wintertime, a lot of times what we see is the skeletons of the plants that are taking a little rest for the wintertime. Over here, there is a beautiful plant whose skeleton looks a lot like the flower that it was during the summertime. This plant over here is the skeleton of evening primrose, which is a beautiful yellow flower. And even in the wintertime, it looks a little bit like flowers, and it's kind of a yellowish color, especially against the white winter landscape. And to see what it looks like flowering, we've got a little picture for you so you can see what it looks like in the spring and in the summer as well. Let's see what other kinds of things we can find from the plants that live here at Neutaconkanut. So come along with me, we're gonna head along this trail right here. I noticed something that would be really helpful for the animals that live here in the wintertime. There are many birds that hang out in Rhode Island the whole winter. They don't migrate, so they need food. And so I'm noticing these beautiful red berries that are all along here. These berries provide food for these birds and sometimes squirrels and chipmunks in the middle of the winter. So they're super helpful to have berry bushes around your house if you would like to feed those kinds of animals as well. Okay. So this plant is actually called bittersweet, which can be a tricky plant to grow around in our forests here. Sometimes the vine likes to choke the trees, so we don't always love this plant, but the birds do like to eat it in the wintertime. As we're coming over, I've been hearing, and maybe you can hear, there's a little chickadee up here who's probably yelling at me because I'm near its winter food and wants me to get out of the way so it can have a little bite. Let's continue. So we've gone a little bit farther along the trail, and we've come to a place where two trails come together. And the nice thing about Neutaconkanut Park is there's these lovely trail maps, so you can figure out where you are. The orange trail, the orange marked trail over here is called the Pinnacle Trail, and the green marked trail over here is called the Shortcut. We're gonna go down the shortcut. Gee, there's so much to hear as we walk along. I can hear the crunching underneath my feet of the snow. And there's lots of birds noticing that we're here in the forest with them. A little chickadee has noticed us as well. I love how the vines kind of tangle their way around some of the bushes, and there's some leaves in there too. That right over there off the trail looks like a great place for little birds or little animals to hide so that they don't get eaten by predators. It looks like a picture too, with the snow on the top and the green and the orange. Boy, if I just had my paint set, that would be a great place to stop and do a little painting. One of the great things about Neutaconkanut is there's a lot of wonderful big rocks. We're coming up to a nice big rock that's sticking out of the snow up here. Let's check it out. These rocks have lots of little cracks in them, and they're wonderful places for little chipmunks to hide. Some of them even have big holes underneath them where something like a fox could have their den. So these rocks are wonderful habitat for a lot of the animals that live here. They look quite pretty with the snow on the top. Not quite snow-covered mountains, but here in Rhode Island, we'll take it. I thought this would be a nice place for us to take a little bit of snow and make a tiny little snow sculpture, and then leave a little something for the animals that live here, and see if they'd like to come and visit. So I'm going to take just a few minutes to do that. I am thinking I want to make this a little animal lying here in the snow, just kind of hanging out. And then I thought I'd put a few seeds on the top of it so that the animals that live here might come check it out. If you've ever read the story Stranger in the Woods, this is what the family did. They made a snowman, and they added some seeds to the top, and they added a hat, and they watched and saw what kind of animals came and visited. Let's see, let's make a nose for our animal. Well, it's sort of perhaps unfinished, but I think it'll work for our purposes today. I'm going to put a little bit of seed on its back. And let's see if any animals come and visit. I brought some seed. Let's see. We'll even put a little bit on its head. Well, it may not stay. Let's scatter some around. See if we can get the birds interested. I have black oil sunflower seeds, but any kind of bird seed would do. The birds in the forest don't eat bread, so if you want to do this in your yard or in a park, do make sure you use bird food, like seeds, rather than bread, because bread's not very good for birds in the wintertime especially. All right, let's see if anybody comes to visit. If you do this at home, we would love for you to take pictures of that, and please tag Audubon on your social media. So a moment to stop and talk about safety. Right over here, there's this nice oak tree that has some vines growing up it. If you look at this vine right here, you'll probably notice it looks kind of hairy, right? There's these reddish hairs. You don't always see the red, but I can see it here because the day is kind of gray and there's a lot of white around it, so I can notice the color of that. But the hairy vine is poison ivy. So if you ever see a hairy rope, nope, don't touch it, because that can still give you that itchy rash even if you get it on your gloves. So be careful when you're trying to hug trees in the wintertime. So we've been walking for a little bit today, and we haven't necessarily seen a lot of animals. There's been a few birds up in the trees, but I think that doesn't mean that the animals aren't here. I think that the animals might be hiding or might be off looking for food in other places. What I think we should do is take just a little look around this area, because I think there's some good hiding spots. Let's see how many hiding spots you can see as we look along this area. Where might be places animals might be hiding or might find a good place for shelter when it's snowing or raining or things like that. Let's take a look. Rocks are a good place for hiding. Logs on the ground. There's some holes in the trees. There's some vines. I wonder how many spots you found when you were looking. Go ahead and write that in the comments for us. We'd love to know what you were thinking. Let's come a little bit farther this way. There's a nice overlook. Let's see if we can find that. Wow, look at the tangle of vines off the trail over here. I bet that would be a good place for finding shelter. Underneath the snow would keep you protected. This tree looks like it's got a lot of broken off branches, but on the top of this tree, almost near the tip, there's a hole. Somebody has been carving a hole in that tree. Maybe for a nest, maybe just looking for food, but it's a nice big one. Who do you think would have made a hole in that tree? Woodpeckers are very good at making holes in trees, but there's lots of animals that will use them. The woodpeckers have the best equipment for making them. Their beaks act a lot like a drill. So as we've been walking, you might have noticed that there were some animal friends who were accompanying us on our walk today. The crows were super curious. At many of the places where we stopped, the crows were hanging out, and they were calling, and they were checking us out. Crows are extremely curious animals, and so they just wanted to figure out what we were up to today. I hope the crows accompany you if you go for a winter walk too. Can you see the crow up there in the tree? We'll put a little circle around it so that you can notice it in our picture. It's one of the friends that's been accompanying us today. So we've come to another beautiful overlook here at Neutaconkanut Park, and this is where we'll end our winter walk today. There are so many trails. We really encourage you to come back and explore this place on your own, or find a park that's near you to explore. We want to thank the Neutaconkanut Hill Conservancy, because they're the group of volunteers that make sure that the trails are in good condition, and they put the marks on the trails, the orange and the green that we saw on the trail, the markers on the trees, so that you don't get lost when you're here. So that's wonderful that they do such good work. We'll put their website, so in case you want to check out some of the things that they're doing. Also on that website, there is a trail map that you can download so that you can check it out before you come here. We hope that you enjoy a nice winter walk at your local park or wildlife refuge, and we thank you for joining us for Audubon at Home.